and welcome to No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I am your host, Rick Becker, our co-host, Lori Hintz.
I'm doing well. It's a Monday. We're starting things off with a bang.
With a bang.
I don't know. I just said that. We're going to talk COVID right off the bat. We will, a little later on, do some real interesting stuff, too, hopefully including getting to maybe some executive order stuff again that's crazy.
Yeah, we have those. We have Representative Tom Kading with us. First, we're going to talk about the COVID vaccines. They've been in the news a little bit more. It's time for an update, I think. It's just time for an update.
We try to do that occasionally just to tell you where we're going. Right now, of course, we're talking about the various vaccines, and there are, I've heard any number from 3 to 7 available, because varying things, I mean, depends on whether you're talking nationwide or whether you're talking just stateside.
Right. I think there are 7 as far as I'm aware. There's at least
worldwide,
7. Worldwide. We have 3 now in the U.S.
Correct.
And so let me hit those just a little bit as far as what they are, and then we can talk about some of the details. So we know Pfizer has their vaccine.
Right.
That was the first one out. And that it's required to have 2 shots, 3 weeks apart. That's the one that you have to have at ultra cold temperatures, and it has 95% efficacy. The question on all these vaccines, too, is does it work for the mutations?
Right.
The Pfizer vaccine seems to work pretty good for the Great Britain mutation. So, not so sure about the South African mutation. And it is a messenger RNA, mRNA vaccine. And I'll talk about that in a second. Moderna is very much the same. It's an mRNA vaccine. It has 86 to 94% efficacy. The mutations, both Great Britain and South Africa, a little iffy. It's 2 shots. They're 4 weeks apart. This one is a little bit more user-friendly because it doesn't need to be in such cold temperatures.
Right.
It needs to be refrigerated.
Right.
So both of these vaccines are a new type of vaccine. It injects a part of the genome of the virus, part of the genes, the virus's genes into your body, and it makes your cells say, hey, this is this RNA, so I'm supposed to make proteins. And so your body acts like the virus and makes proteins so that your body then can fight the proteins with antibodies. So it's a new type of vaccine. This is the one that made me a little iffy, a little iffy. Now I'll tell you, I was just asked this weekend. I was making sausage with my uncle and my dad and several other people. And my parents got the vaccine, and I didn't. I said, I'm not getting that vaccine. And
I call it an experimental biological agent, so I'm not going there either. So
my aunt asked me, she said, if you're against the vaccine, then why did you allow your parents to get it? I'm paraphrasing. And I said, well, number one, I'm not against the vaccine. I think it's probably safe, but I know that it's new, it's novel, and it was hurried through the process.
Right.
So I don't know what to say to my parents because it's probably safe, but I have concerns. On the other hand, they're elderly, and if they get COVID, it could cause them to die. So I'm not about to say, hey, don't get the vaccine. It's got to be a personal decision.
I was just going to say, and you know, sometimes you have to let your parents do what they want to do also, too. It's their choice, right?
Believe it or not, my parents are adults.
Yeah, go figure,
They can make their own decisions.
Precisely.
For me, I'm not a fan of the mRNA vaccine. Maybe you can say that's not logical, but I think that until it's shown that it's long-term.
And I concur. Just give it a little time, and then maybe we can talk. But it's a little early yet for me too.
So the next one is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
That is the latest one.
This is the newest one for the United States. Now this one is considered a virus vector vaccine or a carrier vaccine. It's think of it as a Trojan horse.
Got it.
So what it does is it tricks the body. It brings in something by way of, like a Trojan horse, it brings in a specific sort of something that triggers your cells, again, to make proteins. It's a little different than the RNA, but after that point, it's the same. Your body makes proteins, and then it has antibodies. I like this one a lot better. It's not as experimental. It has only 72% effectiveness.
That's kind of low.
It is, but here's the thing.
All right.
Who cares?
Right.
Because it's 72% effective in not allowing you to get infected. But keep in mind, most of the infections are minimal symptoms.
So you're far less likely to die.
But it's as effective or more effective than the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines for serious illness requiring hospitalizations or causing death.
So you may get it, but it would just be just a lighter version.
Right. So who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
so that would be fine. And it's only one shot. It's not as experimental.
Bonus.
I would, to me, I'm all about that.
I read somewhere that it would be better for younger people because they would be more likely to just want to take one dose rather than two, and I think that's probably true.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Also, Oxford, or you hear AstraZeneca, they have a carrier vaccine also. It's that Trojan horse vaccine. That one has found that it's definitely not as good for the South African mutation. That requires 2 shots. So I don't know. There's also Novavax. That one's not available yet. That one actually is more like a traditional vaccine. That one actually shoots the spike proteins into your body, but they're deactivated, so they can't cause anything. And so instead of your body making proteins, it actually sends the proteins in, then you form antibodies. That one has 89% efficacy. I think the other 2 are generally, they're Chinese ones, and they're more along the lines of a typical vaccine. So
those are the latest. Now, we did get some information today in our state. There was a news release that came out today from FEMA talking about $24 million to North Dakota for COVID-19 response. Now, FEMA had already provided more than $32 million in public assistance funding for COVID-19 response, and the assistance was made available under a major disaster declaration April 1st, 2020. And now FEMA has provided $24 million in additional funding for COVID-19 response efforts in North Dakota.
To North Dakota. That's
a lot of money. Yes, that's a lot of money. The other thing that came out today, too, you may have heard about, is that our governor appointed a new North Dakota State Health Officer. I've lost count how many this is. I think this is number 4. Not really sure. But this Dr. Nizar Wiebe is from the University of Nebraska Medical Center, and he will be starting May 1st.
So we're ramping up. The doses, they say doses. 90.4 million doses have already been given. And if you look, about 50, did I say 90? 90.4 million doses.
Right.
About 50 million have already had, in the United States, have had 2 doses. About 30 million of those
have had one at least?
I said it backwards. About 50 million have had at least one.
Right.
And 30 million out of those have had 2. That brings you up to the 90 million. Fauci says that he thinks that we are going to need 70 to 80% of the entire population vaccinated in order to get herd immunity. What's really weird, though, is that herd immunity, up until COVID, herd immunity was understood to be either vaccinated or having had the disease.
Had it already, right.
Suddenly, for some reason, having had the disease gets thrown out, and it has to be vaccinated. So that's kind of crazy. One of the things that I find very dismaying is how the media and government is trying to bring race into this.
I don't understand it. It really makes no sense to me because I just don't see any correlation between race and COVID.
So here's the thing. It's all about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Johnson & Johnson requires 1 shot. Doesn't require the super cold temperatures.
Correct.
It's easy. Bam, bam, done. And so when you go into poorer communities or transient communities or inner city communities, that's the one that makes the most sense to use.
Correct.
But it has the stigma of having that lower efficacy, right? When you said, for instance, like, it doesn't sound as good,
that's not very much,
But what we're talking about is for serious illness, hospitalizations, and death, it's as good or better. But they are lamenting the fact that it's possible that inner city, big urban populations are going to have a greater likelihood of having effectiveness with this vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson, because it's 1 dose.
It's 1 dose.
Rather than the other ones. But it carries that stigma. So then the concern is, well, it looks like we're sending in a vaccine to minority communities that's less effective, thereby, and so it's this, they're bending over backwards to somehow figure out, it's the vaccine I would prefer.
Right? I don't know.
It's equally or better at preventing death and hospitalizations. So I don't understand, but they're dying. Media is dying because they got to figure out how to do the more expensive, super sub-temperature, 2-dose vaccinations for people in urban inner city areas.
I like this because what you're doing is you're letting people know what to watch for on their regular TV now, too. If you see that, then you know what's going on, all right?
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, I'm excited. We're going to be welcoming Tom Kading from Fargo. We've got some interesting things to talk with him about when we come back.
respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. We are now here with Representative Tom Kading from Fargo. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, back again. So here's the scoop. One of the biggest news stories and most significant things to happen in the last several days is the expulsion of former Representative Luke Simons. We discussed it on Thursday. We had a very enjoyable, entertaining discussion with Joel Heitkamp on Friday. Now, over the weekend, I happened to catch Joel's show, and he had Representative Shannon Roars-Jones on. And I was quite dismayed at the conversation. I was bothered by it. I was really bothered by it. I asked Representative Roars-Jones if she wanted to be on tonight. She had other plans. It involved Representative Kading, Representative Kempenick, Representative Vetter. So Tom agreed to be on just to kind of talk about his position. But what we're talking about, Tom, as you know, is there were three people, and yourself included, that during the hearing for Representative Simons, there was discussion about amendments, like should we drop to censure instead of expulsion because we didn't have the due process in place to be able to expel according to our own rules. Or should we, there were other amendments to say, yes, let's continue to look at expulsion, but we need to do it in a way that follows our rules. We had those types of things, and none of those passed. We got down to the end, and at the very, very end, it's done. Expulsion was voted on. That was the end of the story. And there were reasons for flipping. Now, before I give you a chance to speak, Tom, let's go ahead and play the video, and then you can address what was said there and where you stand on the issue. Absolutely. So go ahead and run that for us, if you would, please.
I want to talk about the board flippers, because you see this. You see people who took a position and something this historic, all of a sudden they flop. It's like they look at the board, they know their position is lost, so now they're going to vote yes and buy themselves insurance. There were 3 of them that I saw that took a real strong stance on behalf of Representative Simons, but in the end did the flip. Talk to me about that. You must have noticed that.
I did notice that, and you know, it's difficult when you see that when someone is kind of can see the handwriting on the wall, and it's an opportunity for some political cover, right? You know, we're opposed to the expulsion. We think there's no due process. They stand up. They rail against the thing that they feel is so wrong. The thing that is about, you know, that is about to happen. And so what ended up happening is we have 2 votes. We had the vote within the committee for the recommendation for a due pass or the alternative.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think we'll get back to that as soon as we can. So, gentlemen in production, I'm going to want to go back to that. Let me know when you have it ready. Tom, I'm going to go to you. So we've got the table starting to be set. We're going to play the rest of the video. You're accused by Joel of being a board flipper, that all of a sudden you flop to buy yourself insurance. You're accused of Representative Rose Jones of taking political cover. Can you explain your position of why it seemed, according to them, that you changed?
Well, I think, first off, the process that we followed in that, whatever you want to call it, was a total abomination. It was totally wrong. The due process, it was a joke. You know, if Luke had the money to fight it, I think there's a real chance the Supreme Court would reinstate it due to the fact we totally messed up the due process side of it. So I think as a legislator, we have to be cognizant that there's 2 pieces in play here. There's 1, due process, right, and then 2, should there be a penalty for the acts that did occur or might have occurred or whatever.
But you have to have discovery to know that. I mean, you have to have some investigation.
So my position is the due process was horrible. And that was the committee portion of it. I was absolutely read into in committee because the due process was just flat out wrong. That said, I still do believe Luke did deserve some sort of penalty. I think Luke crossed a line in different ways. He did deserve something. Was it expulsion? I think expulsion was probably too extreme. But that was the vote we had in front of us. Very often when we have legislation, we have to choose between 2 options where both of them aren't the right option. And this is one of the votes where I thought it was important to be on the record to say a penalty was appropriate, given what was said in the quasi-testimony, quasi-hearing situation, and secondly, what I have seen.
Yeah. See, and I think that's very reasonable, and that's how we frequently do things. Depending on, obviously we don't do these types of things, but when you look at amendments, and then with amendment, without amendment, do you support, and then you change, but you're not changing your position, you're addressing each thing as it comes along. And very much as what you said, the process was the big point for you. You were trying to get to giving proper process. I know I spoke with a Representative Becker and actually at Representative Kempenick as well. And each of them were focused a little bit more on, yes, something, in their opinion, something needed to happen as far as some type of penalty. They didn't feel comfortable with full expulsion. So they were voting to try and get something different, something in their minds more appropriate. But at the end, when all of those options were taken away, then they were left only with the option expulsion or nothing. And for them, the lesser of those 2 evils was expulsion, and then they voted. It's not a flip, it's the process of determining what you're going to do based on the immediate vote at hand. Let's play the rest of that video.
So wrong, the thing that is about, that is about to happen. And so what ended up happening is we have 2 votes. We had the vote within the committee for the recommendation for a due pass, or the alternative would be a do not pass on the resolution. So on that due pass motion, we had 66 people who voted yes for the do pass recommendation. And then when that went to the full assembly, when the committee was dissolved, we had 69 people who voted for actual expulsion. And so those representatives, can't remember if you named them, but Kempenick, Kading from Fargo, and Becker from Grand Forks, they all changed their votes despite the fact that they had Kading and Becker, I believe, both spoke against what was occurring as being, a violation of Representative Simon's rights. And so I struggle with, if you feel so passionately about that, why the flip at the end?
Not exactly what I would define as political courage. I'll leave you out of that because they're still your caucus members.
Yeah, so I'm having difficulty with the intentional misrepresentation and targeting. So why, Joel didn't even name people. Why did Representative Roars-Jones feel compelled to name the three people and identify you as Fargo, identify Vetter as Grand Forks, except as retribution? I tell you what, Tom, I'm going to ask you to hold that response. We're going to take a break. We'll come right back and discuss this more, okay?
Absolutely.
We'll be right back, folks. Stick with us.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Beck Communications is now hiring independent sales agents around the state. We're looking for highly motivated individuals to take advantage of this opportunity, selling advertising for our news and sports programming on Beck TV and sponsorships for the Bismarck Bucks indoor football team. Independent sales agents will make 50% commission on their completed sales for all products. Beck TV is the leader in broadcasting local sports, owner of the Bismarck Bucks indoor football team, and originator of newly launched news opinion programming. Submit your application now at careers@bechtel.coop. This is an exciting opportunity you can't pass up. 50% commission for independent sales agents now hiring at Beck Communications.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Ever been in a cave before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the car! How will we? The car! Your offer has been accepted. Ever bought a house before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the closing. But how will we? The closing!
The experienced professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
All right, welcome back to No Apologies on Beck, your after hours oasis of sanity. And I am your host, Rick Becker, our co-host, Lori Hintz. She's the one in the...
Green. I'm wearing green.
Is that green?
It is. Probably doesn't look green. It's green.
I was trying...
Here we go.
It's not seafoam green
no,
exactly.
It's not.
All right, and Representative Tom Kading from Fargo. Not plural, just one of you, Tom Kading from Fargo. So, Tom Kading, now drop the clarity. So we left the segment last with me questioning. It seems so overt to me, Representative Rose Jones' desire to call 3 people out and to specify that Kading is from Fargo and Vetter is from Grand Forks. What do you think is the motivation for her doing that? I don't understand. You are her colleague. Why is she trying to throw you under the bus?
You know, I have my suspicions, but you know, I think ultimately it's pettiness, and it's, you know, I think there's certain agendas that go against each other in different ways, and I think sometimes those who vote further to the left have a different agenda than those who vote conservative like myself. You know, I think it's a little bit pathetic. You know, she got her way. She won. This non-due process thing went exactly her way, and then to go after those who didn't win, I think is just a
untoward.
lack of class.
That's classless.
Well, here, I think I've got one more clip, and I think this is partially going to play into answering the question that I've asked you. Please play.
I have to ask this before I let you go and get back to work. Did you feel safe? Did you feel safe on the floor of the House and walking off that House and walking in the Great Hall?
So, did he just say, did you feel safe?
Yes.
Okay. Why on earth would that even be a thing?
I don't know. That's why I wanted to play it. So what I think this leads into, the reason I'm bringing it around to saying why are you being brought up? Why are you being thrown under the bus? This is all about Me Too, the Me Too movement, the crazed, over-the-top hashtag Me Too movement. And because Joel's asking her, did you feel safe? I mean, what do you mean? Why would you not feel safe? It's a ridiculous question to impose on this particular situation. The reason I think that exemplifies the Me Too movement. How that relates to the question I asked you, Tom, is I think there's this aspect of Me Too where people that are in that movement feel empowered to exact revenge on people that don't play by their rules in the Me Too movement. And I think that you're able to be singled out. They're able to identify, hey, we could try and point out that they're a flip-flopper, that they are politically cowards, which is effectively what Joel Heitkamp said, and Representative Rose Jones smiled and nodded her head and laughed at. So I think it's retribution, because the Me Too movement now feels empowered. They got rid of the bad evil Representative Luke Simons, and anyone who didn't play along will be punished. And I think you are being attempted to be punished. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. No, I think it's totally inappropriate. I think, you know, all the attempt is to make people like myself look bad. Vetter look bad, Kampanik look bad, myself look bad. And it's just a personalized attack. And I think it's exactly right. It's capitalizing on this movement in our society that, well, forget about the due process, forget about what's logical thinking or critical thinking. Let's just jump to a conclusion and go after someone.
Absolutely.
I'm just amazed at the whole projection thing. It just seems to me that somebody who is all about, oh, we don't want to go after somebody like that. You've got to be kind like that.
Joel Heitkamp said that we're going to make them pay, meaning the accusers, Representative Pyle, Representative Bryan, that we're going to somehow make them pay. But in fact,
they're the ones, this projection stuff of they're the ones who are going after people. I mean, you've got to be kidding me.
And that's the typical MO from those on the left. They're always projecting what they do on the right, and it's
exactly
it's all the time.
It is so frustrating. It's maddening.
You know, not just a segment, but an entire daily show could be about the left projecting what they do, what they think onto the right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know where it's going to stop. I'm the Me Too movement. I'm looking. I looked for it last night and I couldn't find it to bring into the studio to show our audience. But I had an anonymous letter sent to me.
What?
Yeah, and it said something like, Becker, we're watching you, #MeToo. So it's a threat. And again, it's not a threat because, hey, we think you are doing something, you're a misogynist or you're harassing women. It's a threat that you're on the right, in our opinion, the far right, and so we're looking for something that we can attack you. And that's what the Me Too movement is about. Right. It's about silencing free speech. It's about obliteration of due process. It's about making people fall in line with a certain narrative. And when you are trying to do what's true to what you believe, Tom, then you get called out by the likes of Representative Roars-Jones.
And it's a little bit pathetic too, due process is not a far right concept. Due process is like a fundamental principle of the United States.
And Republicans are always the rule of law party. That's our jam, is the rule of law, and no rule of law was actually followed in that procedure. None.
No. Interestingly, I brought up Al Franken, and he resigned because of pressure. Senator at the time, Heidi Heitkamp, had called for his resignation and later said that was one of the biggest mistakes of her career, or biggest
regrets.
Regrets, thank you. And because, again, it's easy to just be emotional and knee-jerk.
Right.
That's why we always must stand for due process. Right. And Shannon Roars-Jones said, well, we don't need to follow due process according to the 14th Amendment. And technically she's correct, because that's in Mason's rules, Mason's procedural manual for legislators. But in that same manual, it says that due process is needed, not a substantive due process, but procedural due process. And we didn't follow that. We didn't follow anything. And Tom, although you and I voted differently at the end, I respect the process you had in how you voted throughout.
I read recently, too, I'm just going to interject this, too. Did you read also that Cuomo in New York is screaming now for due process?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Seriously? Okay. Yeah, maybe the dude should have due process and we can do some discovery.
And
he should. You think? I think we should.
And one of the caveats too, in a political setting, yeah, the 14th Amendment doesn't directly apply to the due process, but there's still states' rights, state constitutional due process. And what the case they cited said, well, the 14th Amendment doesn't apply directly, but due process still applies political due process,
right.
And that includes following your own rules, following the state constitution, following state statute, which we did none of.
We didn't. Following your own harassment policy, right. we ignored that too.
Either.
We ignored everything. What we did is the thing that was fastest, most expedient, just to get rid of the problem.
Yeah.
And here we are. But anyway.
We may be talking about this tomorrow and what can be done.
Yes. Tom, thanks a lot for being on.
Fantastic
I appreciate
having you
your
here.
input on this. I thought you needed to have your voice heard, and thanks again.
Appreciate for having me here.
You bet. You bet.
All right. Hang with us, folks. We'll be back with Mailbag.
Howdy folks, it's a Canine Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hay-Boss and breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Canine burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
Welcome to No Apologies on Beck. That was awesome with Tom Kading.
It's always good to have
thanks
guests.
again to him.
We have really good guests on this show.
He did great.
So we are going to go
Mailbag.
We're going to look at the mailbag. And I just have to preface this by saying that since we did this mailbag, we've gotten tons and tons and tons of responses. So thank you to everybody who weighed in over the Luke Simon stuff. We did a couple of questions. We'll hit that tomorrow. Yeah, that's just my little tease for you to watch tomorrow. You're going to want to watch the mailbag, especially if you made a comment on our social media. So
if you're one of the 500 people that
I know, really, there were a lot. So thank you. All right, well, let's take a look at what we've got from our mailbag here from this last week. So thank you for the email. We love you too. All right, we can't see any of that. All right, this is the response to this. So that triggered individual should try intelligently debating their issues, but they won't. All you can do is laugh at the tyrannical left. I'm out of tears at this point. Keep fighting the good fight. We need more patriots like you guys always watching. Don't quit. Don't ever quit. If you resign, it better be to run for governor.
Oh, this is back.
This is a ways away. This is way
I'm
last
zooming
week.
in a little bit.
Yeah,
that's where they asked me, there still is time. Please quit. Please.
Please,
said,
please
yeah.
quit. That was from a previous mailbag. And so, yeah, these are the responses. If you resign, it better be to run for governor. Okay, our next one here is, we've been watching you guys for some time now and believe Rick Becker would make a great U.S. Senator. Boy, we're getting a theme here. To replace Hoeven. At least Rick has some fire in his belly. Hoeven is just let's wait and see kind of guy. I want someone with knowledge and spirit, and Rick has both. Wow, that is a nice thing to say.
I want to correct this viewer,
yep.
because it's not fire that I have in my belly. It's
bourbon.
It's
bourbon.
It is bourbon, but
Yeah.
I was going to say it's actually an umbilical hernia. And
TMI, dude. Seriously.
With my head cold, I've been coughing a lot, and it kind of hurts, and it feels like fire. It's burning.
It's
but
fire in his belly.
That's the fire.
Also, by the way,
and
Senator
this.
Hoeven has announced that he is running again. So no, thank you. All right.
Hey, I don't mind taking Hoeven on.
Okay, let's go on. You just heard it. Do you have family members whom you are worried about because of COVID isolation, was our question. And there are several of the different types of answers on this thread. Absolutely, no, and someone who lost somebody.
Oh,
used to.
that's
so
too bad.
That's too terrible. All right, this next one.
Thanks for bringing me down.
I'm sorry. Just bringing you back to reality here. Dan Bongino. So this was another show that we did previously, and I loved this show because we had some really great information about Dan Bongino. We did some clips on the show, and Dan Bongino is a political commentator, author, former police officer, and he served in the Secret Service. Rick and Lori talk about his speech during CPAC, and if you want to watch the full discussion. By the way, that is a link to our YouTube channel, which we have. You can search us out on YouTube and watch back shows if you want to do that too. And this person writes and says, Dan Bongino's podcast is a regular staple in my ear throughout the workday. Buck Sexton as well. Happy you've given them both a plug. Others I recommend. And then they give recommendations. This is great.
I like that because they actually, Clarity, Ben Shapiro. I agree. And my wife loves Ben Shapiro.
I love Ben Shapiro too.
Culture, Michael Knowles, agreed.
Yep.
And Levity, Steven Crowder. Couldn't agree more. This person's brilliant. You should unredact that name
and figure
so
out who
everyone
that is
recognizes how
and
smart
have them
this
help
person
us on
is.
the show. You know, excellent post. So we have really smart viewers. Not a joke.
All right.
Okay.
Holy
I
crap.
know, right? So
What is this?
I don't know. It's rambling. Here's the thing, and the reason I put this on here is to remind our viewers to be pithy. Just brevity is the soul of wit, but blessed are the brief. So we pulled just a few things in the next slide from this so that we can look at it. Sunlight law things that this person was calling for. Sunlight law that would audit elected people's income during their time in office. I don't know.
Well, that would be good for the U.S. people, but the people's income during their time in office for statewide, I mean, that's kind of irrelevant because believe me, folks, there's nothing you're doing here that's going to enrich you. I shouldn't say nothing, but not to the degree that is happening in the U.S.
In the United States. And then another one says, receipt from voting tied to those 2 ballots that could be tracked online to see how it was counted. Now, this is a suggestion for future elections. And so I could see a receipt might not be a bad idea, voting so that you could actually track it and know for sure. I don't have any problem with that idea whatsoever. And I'm going to be doing a lot of digging into election integrity issues here in the coming months. And this person also says, I have lost faith in the whole process and things have to change. And nothing could be worded better on that one, because I think you are not alone, dear viewer, in that. I think there are many people who are very disgusted and frustrated and beside themselves on the whole system.
Yeah, I'm going through the longer, and we're not making fun of you. It's just a long comment.
It's just a lot.
But this person brought up good ideas. The 2 ballots where you have one in safekeeping, and so it'd almost be like a carbon copy.
Carbon copy, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this person also said perhaps a term limits bill, at say 20 years. Now, interestingly, just today, the Judiciary Committee voted on a bill that would limit a legislator's time in North Dakota to 16 years max, and the governor to 8 years. Now, I think it got a do not pass recommendation.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting.
Term limits we've talked about before too, and term limits are really polarizing. People are really
tough.
adamant about it, or
There's pros and cons.
There are, and I understand that.
But it is interesting. Bob Martinson.
If you limit the years, I can see that as being term limited, but not just. You know what I'm saying? If you give them a decent 16 years is a lot of time.
It is.
That's a lot. So you were saying Bob Martinson.
It is. Oh, Representative Bob Martinson, Bismarck, and I'm not. This is not good or bad. It's just in the testimony today, I found out he's been in legislature for, I think it said 48 years, which is astounding to me. That's
really?
Yeah, since 1973, and that's a long time. Again, I'm not Bob. I love you, man. I'm not saying it's bad or good or anything. That's just a long time. I'm so impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Holy
there are
crap.
legislators who are half that amount of age in the. You've got Claire Corey, who is what, 22, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, that is
interesting.
Well,
anyway, thank you. Even if it's long, thank you. No disrespect. If you can keep it short, it makes it easier, but do what you do. We love you.
That's right. Now, next time we do a mailbag, like I said, we will be delving into some of the responses for all of the posts that we had on the Luke Simons expulsion. So watch the next show for that.
Yes.
Interesting.
All right, next up, we are going to talk about an executive order from Biden. No surprise. This is an interesting one. We're actually only going to talk about
half
part
of it.
of it. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the other part of this single executive order. Anyway, hang with us. We'll be back.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel, from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Coulter Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back. No apology. Segment 5. Again, you have made it. Congratulations.
So we're going to reward you with an executive order. So we've been going through these one by one, and we are on day 8. We are on number 36.
Day 8, meaning the 8th
day of the Biden administration.
Mm-hmm.
So he was only in office after 8 days when this monstrosity came out. And each one is in itself another monstrosity. This one, though, is so humongous and so detailed and so ridiculous that we're going to show it to you. All right, here we go.
Here you go. All right. The United States and the world face a profound climate crisis. We have a narrow moment to pursue action at home and abroad in order to avoid the most catastrophic impacts of that crisis and to seize the opportunity that tackling climate change presents. Domestic action must go hand in hand with the United States' international leadership aimed at significantly enhancing global action.
There's a lot to unpack there.
There's
a great deal, particularly the fact that they are talking specifically about international things in a United States executive order. That caught my eye, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Secondly, that they're talking about climate change as an international problem, which is really interesting to me because as far as I know, there are many, many other polluting states that are far worse with their climate change issues than the United States.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so
Russia, India, China, I mean, just to name a few.
Right.
But one of the things that's interesting and that we just showed in that graphic is talking about the narrow, the way they phrase it, a narrow moment.
Right.
And that's what's been happening for the last 20 years. And we've surpassed these critical moments. We must take action by such and such a date.
How many times?
And they keep moving it, and we keep coming to it, and they keep moving it.
So true. The goalposts keep moving every single time.
Right. Now Biden has a new narrow moment for this crisis.
True.
And again, the crisis, as we've talked about, is used to implement this far leftist policy. And don't think about it, don't question it. There's a narrow moment, and it's a crisis. We have to act.
So what they do with each one of these crises that they have is they exploit it in order to redistribute wealth. That's what happens every single time. We're going to give money from the Democrat causes from either the right, or we're going to take money away from the rich and we're going to redistribute wealth in some other manner. It happens every single time with each one of these crises.
It absolutely does. Let's hit another graphic.
You want me to read this one?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
The scientific community has made clear that the scale and speed of necessary action is greater than previously believed. Urgency. There is little time left to avoid setting the world on a dangerous, potentially catastrophic climate trajectory. Responding to the climate crisis will require both significant short-term global reductions in greenhouse gas emissions and net zero global emissions by mid-century or before. So they're, again, pushing the goalposts down again and saying, okay, here's our new timeline. We need to get this done really, really quick. So they always add a little air of urgency to the whole thing.
Right. And as always, that urgency is designed to silence opposition.
Correct.
And as was said during the Obama administration, there is scientific consensus. There is no arguing against it. It's done. If you disagree, then you're a denier. You're anti-science. And that's effectively what they're doing again for the umpteenth time, is to set this up. Go ahead to the next.
The United States will work with other countries and partners, both bilaterally and multilaterally, to put the world on a sustainable climate pathway. The United States will also move quickly to build resilience, remember that word, both at home and abroad against the impacts of climate change that are already manifest and will continue to intensify according to current trajectories. So they like the word trajectory and they like the word resilience. And resilience just is laughable to me. What does that even mean? What is climate resilience?
Climate resilience, I have no idea. They make up a lot of terms. There's a lot of interesting euphemisms they use. This starts to get into an interesting area when they talk about working bilaterally and multilaterally. Really what they're starting to look at is working with these countries that say, yes, it's a fantastic idea. We encourage you, United States, to do these things and be the leader, get out in front, which is going to devastate the United States economically.
Correct.
And then allows places like Russia and China to say, yeah, not us so much. We're not really into that, which then gives them the economic advantage and really every advantage.
That's the end
and
game.
so they're playing us. And the thing is that we, meaning the administration, are a voluntary, useful idiot to the rest of the world.
Right.
We will completely decimate our economy in this quest for decreased carbon emissions, while at the same time the rest of the world will increase their carbon emissions far greater than the amount we are decreasing.
It's all part of this narrative, United States bad, America bad, must be punished. We must punish the United States for all the bad things we've done, and so doing, giving international other places far more latitude. It's astounding to me. It's just ridiculous.
And that's the problem, is when they say we're going to be the leader, that means you're going to be first. Well, there might not be a second or a third.
I'm still thinking about, like, what does build resilience mean? I'm really struggling with it. It's just they make crap up.
Yeah.
So some of the wording is it. Okay, let's go to the next one. You can do this one.
This is a great one.
great.
I love this one. The Paris Agreement's 3 overarching objectives, which are a safe global temperature, increased climate resilience, your favorite, Lori. And this is my favorite, financial flows aligned with a pathway toward low greenhouse gas emissions and climate resilient development.
I'm just in my mind trying to picture the individual who wrote this stuff. I really am. And I'm fairly certain that President Biden had nothing to do with any of this. I mean, seriously.
Biden didn't have anything to do with any of this.
I'm not certain that he's read a lot of these things.
Biden is the Manchurian candidate.
But
Hear me, read my lips. Biden is the Manchurian candidate.
Right.
But listen, financial flows. This is what the gist of this is about, financial flows. And we can talk more about it tomorrow night.
Yep.
Financial flows, because what we're talking about is going to be a complete redistribution of wealth from the United States to other countries, from the wealthy to the less wealthy. We are going to be going into debt so much more than we already are. I don't know how we get out of the debt we're in, but to do what effectively Biden's administration is trying to do here puts what we've done so far into a perspective where it's this much and he wants to do this much.
Yikes.
So
we will finish this tomorrow night on the show.
We may.
We also will be hosting an attorney, the attorney representing former Representative Luke Simons. We will be hosting him, and we will look at some, as we promised you, some of the great feedback that we've gotten on social media next time here on No Apologies.